Sean King this morning called me and was like, "Hey, I gotta hop on."
Yes,
I
was texting with them last night.
I gave him a time.
I didn't. Hey, shout out to Sean. Hey, listen, I didn't see my phone. He hit me up too. I just seen Sean King, but I seen that.
Yeah.
So the only time we could fit him in today didn't work for him, so he said, "Just tell Bull this," and I want to read this quote. This
he can't
Sean.
come on?
No, he couldn't. He could only do it during the TV show, and obviously we're in TV.
Yeah.
So he told me to tell Bull this in regards to Jameis Winston. Quote, "Bull, stop hating and fall in line." End quote. So are you ready to take the Jameis roller coaster, Bull, past this season?
Well, I was always open to the possibility of him being their quarterback next season. Players often complain that they're misquoted or taken out of context. That's what Sean has done here, and it's unfair. I haven't hated on Jameis at all.
I'm not surprised that he's singling you out.
Well, because I was being realistic, unlike everybody else, that his career, Jameis has been, in his career, very inconsistent.
Yes.
He's had a losing record. I don't really hold that against him.
By the way, in the micro last night, he was inconsistent.
He's been an inconsistent player, and I'm not ready to say before this week was 2 good games, he's the long-term answer. That's all I was saying.
Right.
I didn't say it wasn't possible. I didn't say he shouldn't be the quarterback next year.
You're just hesitant.
I'm not gonna be sure. I'm not gonna feel confident as him as the long-term answer until minimum at the end of the season.
Okay.
Right now, if you tell me he's their starting quarterback at least to start next season, that's fine. I don't know that there's a better option out there for them. That's fine. I'm not hating on him. He's playing well, but it's silly to say, let's throw away his whole career, which has been highly inconsistent and highly turnover prone, and just judge him based on 2 games and say, well, he's definitely, let's sign him to a long-term contract. You can't be overreactionary like that. That doesn't mean I'm a hater. It just means I'm realistic.
There's no need to.
I love Sean, though. He's awesome with the breakdowns.
There's no need to run into
why? No decision is going to be made at week 11.
Exactly. That's it.
Listen, the Browns are still in the midst of a horrible divorce right now. Like, the last thing you want to do is run out and get hitched again.
Oh, I love that analogy. That is so good.
You're about to lose your house, the dog, the truck,
and $230 million.
The kids. You're losing everything in this divorce. The last thing you need to do is go out and get you a 24-year-old floozy. Like, don't do it.
Shout out 30-year-old.
Shout out to G. Bush, man. I got divorced in November. The next year by February, I had a K-1 visa.
Oh, Lord.
It was that short a turnaround?
He just jumped right back in that pool.
I was like, oh, no. I said, I see this one. Oh,
well, listen,
I'm going to take this. I'm going to get out the game.
This is the same guy who canceled a wedding and then ended up marrying her down the road.
Yeah,
with a Michael Jackson impersonator in that wedding.
It was wild, man. But I love the analogy, though. Love it, though.
For me, I'm absolutely, to your point, why would you make a decision now? You don't have to make a decision now.
You don't need
There's
to.
6 more games. I pretty much think we all know what we're going to get. We're going to get really high highs, and we're going to get some, oh my God, head scratching, why did you throw that lows? That's who he is. However, Sean has been very diligent about kind of the arc of his career. This is the guy that threw for 5,000 yards once. He also threw for 30 interceptions once. Mm-hmm. Sean's point is having some time to re-examine everything. What your skill set is, watching Tom Brady come in with the same team and win the Super Bowl with, and also sitting on the bench in New Orleans and watching. I think he's reevaluating how he plays the game. We have said, I know, G, you and I completely agree on this. A 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio is not great. It's never going to get you an MVP, but it's going to get you a winning record and into the playoffs. Now, that's not the goal. We want to win it all. I understand that. I want to see over the next 6, I want to see more of the 7-to-4 ratio. Wasn't a ball dropped in the end zone yesterday by Njoku?
Yeah.
Yep.
So it could be 8-to-4, which is a dead-on 2-to-1. Now, also, Hamilton dropped an interception, so it could be 8-to-5. I think that's going to come out in the wash.
I think that's a little overstated, Jay, because it's got to be more to it than that. If Jameis,
more to it than what? The 2-to-1?
Yeah, because it's not that simple. Like if Jameis throws a 50-yard pass and the wide receiver gets tackled at the 1, and then they run it in for a touchdown. Well, there's no touchdown for him there.
No, of course, but all quarterbacks deal with that.
Sure, but
so
that's
you
why
are what your stats say you are, and that's fair.
Well, I mean, Not necessarily,
Well,
but
every quarter, it's like tip balls that go for interceptions. They count.
But Jay, that's the point of other statistics, so you have a full picture of who
And
a guy
when we
is.
look at other statistics,
Yeah.
his efficiency rate throwing the ball down the field is where, Jason? On long balls?
I did a scatter chart last night. Since he took over, he's among the league leaders in yards per attempt.
Right. So I think there's something there. Here's what we can't do. I know there's this temptation to say, just throw DTR in, see what we got. Let's lose some games and get a good pick. With last night's win, I'm not sure that the Browns are going to be in that 1 and 2 range. We're more likely going to be in the 3 to 8 range. And here's why that changes everything. You're not getting a top-tier quarterback. You're not getting one of the top 2 quarterbacks if you're number 3. So,
And frankly, I don't know if there's a quarterback in this draft that you want to choose.
I don't either, because you'd said earlier, sometimes it's just luck. Or you said that, I believe. When you tank, there's luck involved. I can't remember who said that. Jason, I think. There is luck involved. If there was a Joe Burrow waiting to come out, yeah, I'm tanking. I'm playing bullet quarterback. I don't want to win another game. But I don't think we're looking at that draft. We're looking at perhaps one of the most talented two-way players, not that he would play two-way in the NFL, and a very, very gifted wide receiver, another very big need of the Browns. What if you end up at 3 and you get him? That's not an L. And on the quarterback hunt, we have gone chasing quarterbacks for 25 years. We've had zero success. And when we did kind of had success, we thought, no, he's not the guy, and we moved on. And there's some regret there. Stop chasing quarterbacks for a minute. If you've got a guy that can be a bridge, you can find quarterbacks at other places other than the 1 and 2 pick in the draft. The league is littered with them. So I don't think you have to tank. I don't think that you have to start thinking about who's next for next season. Maybe it is Jameis Winston. And right now, if he plays exactly the way he's played the rest of the season, I'm okay with that. It's better than what we've seen.
To me, the Brown, you should always, until you're sure that you have the answer at quarterback, you should always be looking and considering options.
And
what I would say, with Jameis being the starter, is I'm going to continue for him to be the starter if I were the Browns, whether it's the rest of this year, next year, or even beyond that,
right,
until I have some guy I'm sure is better.
You're right.
And right now I don't.
Is Jameis a top 16 quarterback in the NFL?
We had that discussion Wednesday
I don't believe so.
on the show.
I don't think so either.
Sean King said he is.
He said right now he is.
And we did the exercise. We went through and we named 16 quarterbacks that we all pretty much felt were better. But I got to tell you this. When we got to 14, 15, and 16, I'm like, I don't know.
It was close.
I don't know. We threw Bo Nix in there. Is Bo Nix really? I don't know.
Now they've been trying to tell me Trevor Lawrence has been great for years.
Well, but we didn't say
he wasn't
Trevor
mentioned in
Lawrence.
the top 16.
What I'm just saying is, what I'm proving is, when we say, oh, this draft isn't specifically going to be good. Well, there's drafts where people told me that is a once-in-a-generation type player, and this guy's going to save the franchise, and then I'm looking 4 or 5 years later.
Where is he? Yeah.
I don't see nobody in trouble. It's a crapshoot.
If they start, now listen, whatever this is worth, maybe you don't think it matters. All I'm saying is, if you were drafting all the quarterbacks in the league from scratch
right now,
Jameis, forget contract. Age is obviously a factor because they are what age they are. But if you took away contracts, Jameis would not go in the top 20.
No, probably not.
But he'd go somewhere between 20 and 30.
But at one point in time, Baker Mayfield wouldn't win in the top 20.
Yeah,
but
not that long ago.
But now today,
but
people would take him. So what I'm saying to you is, yes, it matters what you've done in the past, but it also matters what you do looking forward in the future and what you want to do.
But two things. Number one, Baker had a short window of where he didn't play well. It was 2 years. Whereas Jameis hasn't played at a high level in a number of years.
Well, he's been a backup.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's just been more time. Again, I'm not saying this I'm just talking in realities. Yes, we can always find the outlier to the norm. But the reality is and maybe it's wrong. You're right. Maybe Jameis will be a top 10 quarterback for the next 5 years. I don't know, but
I wouldn't say all that.
Certainly not enough of a track record to think that's the case right now.
What I'm saying is, in the league now, there's more evidence of players that we once thought were going to either be good quarterbacks, but we read them off, and they've gone to other places, got with the right system,
And the other way around.
and they've been ball players, right? Jared Goff is one example of them. You know, he went to a Super Bowl, and they said, we can't win with you. And Detroit said, okay, we'll take that deal. Baker's another individual. Sam Darnold's played well in some spots. So, look, we don't know if he's going to be that, but at least it's worth giving him the opportunity to kind of see.
Absolutely. I don't think anybody disagrees with that.
And you don't have to sign him today, but your options are a lot better if you can say, I don't have to draft a 21-year-old quarterback that probably is not going to be ready to sit. He might be Richardson or Bryce Young.
Sure.
And we got holes at left tackle, receiver, linebacker.
I don't
corner.
think you should ever draft a quarterback just because you need one.
Right.
You only draft a quarterback if you think the guy's going to be really good.
Yeah.
I still think whatever the Browns are picking in the top 10, let's say they're picking 6th, if there's a quarterback on the board that they're convinced is going to be the next great quarterback, they absolutely should draft him, in my opinion, which you wouldn't do if you had Mahomes or Burrow or Allen or Lamar. On the other hand, yes, it does give them some breathing room, maybe not to reach as much as you would if you had absolutely nothing at the position.
And I wouldn't mind, like, say, for instance, say Jalen Milroe slips to the second round.
Yeah.
And
wow, I don't think that's going to happen.
Or a guy, or even Beck. What if Beck from Georgia slips to the second round? And the Browns are sitting here like, man, we kind of had a first-round grade on him last year if he would have came out. Let's kick the tie. I wouldn't mind spinning a pick
No,
like that.
I agree
on
with
a
that
quarterback.
too. If you think he's going to be a player in the league, take him.
That's right. And that's a good problem to have. Like, Minnesota drafted J.J. McCarthy in the first round. Sam Darnold's had a nice season.
Yep.
I don't know. We don't know what they think about Sam Darnold long term. I don't know. He started off hot. He's been a little up and down
Atlanta
since.
did the same thing.
Atlanta too. Although Kirk Cousins obviously has a much better track record than Sam Darnold. He's older.
He does.
So yeah, they thought. But like, if it turns out for Minnesota that Sam Darnold is a really good player now, and J.J. McCarthy's good, well, that's a good problem to have.
Green Bay,
you could always trade one.
Green Bay used to have that dilemma all the time. When
Right.
they had Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers was on the bench, and then when they had Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love was on the bench, maybe the way to do it is the way Green Bay has done it. We have, and I've seen Tom Brady talk about this, and when I hear him talk about it, it really changes the way I think about it. This nonsense that the league has operated under over the last 10 to 15 years, where you draft a kid and you immediately throw him into the fire, it's not the right way to do it. Let him sit there, let him marinate, let him learn. So if we find a Beck in the second round and he sits here and plays or watches Jameis for 2 or 3 years, 2 likely, and then we think he's ready, okay, I think the chance that he succeeds is a lot greater after 2 years in a system and watching this whole thing and then giving him a chance. More quarterbacks might make it.
That may be the case. I mean, most of the good quarterbacks in the league played right away now. I mean, currently, most of them played right away.
You're right, they do.
But yeah, I mean, maybe, but those guys probably would have also been just as good had they waited. Meanwhile, yeah, I mean, maybe Jordan Love wouldn't have been as good as he played right away. We'll never know. I think it depends on the player. You know, some players are ready to go right away.
Peyton Manning set the record for interceptions in his rookie year.
Right.
Troy Aikman was all-world terrible.
Right, but it didn't ruin their careers.
No, because the troops were coming. They had enforcements, especially in Dallas. They stayed with it. They surrounded him with great talent.
Teams were more patient if a guy struggled then. Like, Bryce Young was put in I don't know if he's ever going to be any good. Maybe he was never going to be any good no matter where he went. Right. But he went to a terrible situation and was rushed in. And, you know, so.
I don't know if this is a full topic to do on a post-game show. This is probably for later on. But something I've been thinking about for a while. We have 5 years now with Kevin Stefanski offenses. And I think there was a rush to judgment in 2021 of what he did or didn't need to run his system because you just didn't have a lot of experience with him. You only had 2 years with him. Mm-hmm. Now that we have more data on how he operates, and I'm not talking about this year's offense, I'm talking about what he was running in the past. I think it changes what you look for in a quarterback now that you know what he likes. And it's not necessarily, I mean, everybody wants Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. Everybody wants those guys. Everybody would take those guys in a second. There's only so many of those guys to go around. So if you can't get those guys, what do? Find someone who can not turn the ball over and run an efficient offense And I say, like, don't turn the ball over. Well, Deshaun didn't turn the ball over, but Deshaun also couldn't throw it more than 4 yards down the field.
Right.
So there's a balance here, right?
Yeah.
But just don't turn the ball over. Like, it's not a high bar that you're asking for. He's proven with his, and I hope that when we get through this, whatever this season is, that I have no idea if they'll do this or not. I hope they go back to running the offense
I
like
do
they did
too.
before.
I do too.
And now you have 5 years of data, and now you know this is what works, this is what he likes, and now he has more experience and more say and more of a voice to say, this is what I want, this is what we should look for in a
This
quarterback.
is a little muddy. This gets a little muddy because, okay, say for instance, obviously if you're going to say that Jameis Winston is a guy who played his way into a contract, right? Or played his way into being a bridge guy. Well, that means he played well enough and Ken Dorsey was calling plays. What do you do?
I think Ken Dorsey's still going to call the plays going
Yeah, and
forward.
I think he did a fine job. I think to Jason's point.
So the offense that the offense that Ken Dorsey runs is not the offense that Kevin Stefanski runs.
No.
So the conundrum is, okay, well, Jameis looks good running this. Are we going to go back to this? Kevin hand the play calling over knowing that he was never going back to revisit that. I would like to know what his rational thoughts.
I think they're just trying to get through this season, and then they'll worry about next year.
I think one other factor in what you're saying is that, and I think it's obviously been trending this way, but it has changed definitely. Although after an early season start, I think quarterback numbers are up the last bunch of weeks after a slow start. But I do think that the quarterback numbers have been trending down from the time the Browns made the trade for Deshaun Watson to now.
Right.
I think there's more of a case of not quite what it was in the 80s and 90s where you could win with any quarterback almost if you had a running game and a defense. You can't win that way now. You can't win with the way Deshaun Watson was playing. You can't win that way.
I mean, Philly won a couple of years ago that way.
Well, but no, not really, because Nick Foles, for all his
played out of
flaws,
his
was
mind.
fantastic in the postseason.
But he wasn't very good.
He wasn't good, but that year he was, for whatever reason.
Particularly in that
He
in that
played
playoff
great.
stretch.
It's the Jeff Hostetler year.
Right, and if he had played like he normally played, they wouldn't have won ultimately because they had their defense sucked in the Super Bowl. They had to outslug the Patriots in that game. So I think because of that, late 2010s and the early 2020s, it felt like you had to have a top 5 or 6 quarterback or you had no chance. Now I think that bar is started to lower a little bit. You can't have a terrible quarterback, but now maybe a tier 2 or a top tier 3 quarterback, if the rest of the team around them is really good, you can do it. And as you say, there's only a few tier 1 quarterbacks. There's like 4 or 5 maybe. So
what do you do if you don't have those guys?
right.
What do you do?
So the rest of the team, the quarterback's got to at least be solid, and the rest of the team's got to be really good. But teams like Kansas City, Buffalo, Baltimore, Cincinnati to some degree, although their defense is hideous and they're having a bad year, they have more margin for error around the quarterback because that quarterback,
especially Kansas City.
The Niners offense took the last player taken in the draft,
right,
and turned him into a star.
Yep.
Kyler Murray is having more success this year than probably he's had in his career. I don't know what the numbers would say, but they're in first place. He's got 12 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. That's all this offense, guys, or it's the offense that you had here until you threw it out for we all know why. So if you go back to that offense and you get a quarterback who just doesn't turn the ball over, that's really
I don't think it's just that, Jason.
I think that's a big key.
It is a big part of it.
You can't be what Deshaun Watson
was.
Yes, maybe that's extreme.
Yeah, because Deshaun this year didn't turn it over.
Because he didn't throw it down the field.
He didn't take chances.
So there's a balance to that.
You got to be able to throw the ball down the field some.
You know what's interesting? I'd like to look this up. I don't know that there's a team in the NFL that has won with as many different quarterbacks over the last 5 years as the Browns. Think about the names, guys, that Kevin Stefanski has rolled out there and won football games with. A lot of those guys were inferior quarterbacks. The crazy thing to me as I was watching Jameis do what he was doing last night, outside of the Baltimore moment that Deshaun gave us, he played, 17 games here, 18 games?
17, I think.
What's stunning to me is he had one memorable game. The Baltimore
Right,
game.
that was it.
Everything else was forgettable.
And one
Or
memorable.
memorable for the wrong reason.
I'd say one memorable half.
It was his first half was awful.
Yeah.
But what's crazy to me is, in a handful of games last year and a handful of games this year, we've had 5 times the moments with Flacco and Winston as we had in 17 games.
That's right.
With Deshaun Watson.
And the biggest difference between Winston and Flacco is that Flacco's 40 and Winston's
Exactly.
30.
Right.
I mean,
Exactly.
that's,
That's a big difference.
Yeah.
Well, people, I said this on a post game show, Big Nuggets. I said, look, people, the reason why they reluctantly give credit to certain things is because we're the culture and we're a place in America where you riding with somebody. Either you ride with 6 or 4. Or, man, I'm riding with whoever giving me them points right now.
Yeah.
If Jameis Winston gonna give me them points, that's what I'm
I'll
riding.
ride with between them.
Yeah,
5.
5. Give me 5.
But
Give me whatever.
long term, like, let's say Jameis is the quarterback next year. I'll say long term being next year.
Okay.
If they're going
For us, it is.
If they're going to win with Jameis, they've got to run the ball and play defense much better than they have overall this
no.
year.
Oh, they need upgrades.
Can I
Yeah.
ask
That's a perfect
Jason a
segue.
question before you do that really quickly? I'll try to do this in a minute. Jason, can we definitively say that we have seen Deshaun Watson take his last snap in Cleveland? Or could that muddy this whole thing next spring?
Can you definitively say it? I don't think, because of the amount of money left on his contract, I don't think you can definitively say anything right now. But I don't expect him to be the starter next year now.
Well, he can't be a backup on this team at $85 million.
Maybe you send him home. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think
don't
that's
know.
the answer.
I do
is,
too.
Is you got to keep him on the roster and just see ya.
There is so much money owed to him
Sucks, but
still
I think that's the best option.
that I don't.
One other thing, I was encouraged yesterday. I heard a lot of guys that I've known for many years and trust say yesterday or report yesterday that they do believe that Kevin Stefanski is safe. I heard some of them say they believe Andrew Berry was safe. The one name I haven't heard used in the safe sentence is Paul DePodesta. And I'm hoping that this organization has finally had an epiphany and they've seen the light and they realize that perhaps it was their chief strategy officer all along.
I hate to bum you out, Jay, but if they're not going to fire Berry and Stefanski, I doubt they're going to fire Lee.
Someone's got to be fired. I mean, I think we all agree someone's got to go.
I would personally fire DePodesta and Berry and pair somebody else up with Stefanski,
Yeah.
but I don't think that's going to happen.
We're going to get to that.
What we don't
That's all
know
right,
is
Mike.
how much input did DePodesta have in the Andrew Berry drafts.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't
That's
know.
what we don't know.
We don't know that.
You,
You're right.
you hire a general manager to create a point on the horizon, build a strategy, and go draft the players that you want, not the players someone else wants. If you have a chief strategy officer making those decisions, why do you have a general manager?
No.
What can Andrew
we don't
Berry
know that
do
he's making
in a
those
world
decisions.
without Andrew or
Yeah.
without Paul DePodesta?
But we don't know
I'd like
DePodesta
to
was
see.
overruling him.
We don't. No,
Yeah.
but I just have to guess that he's the guy that won the power struggle. He survived all these different GMs and coaches. I'm thinking that he's had the ear of the owner, and he has more influence on draft strategy than Andrew Berry had. That's just my guess because they won't tell us.